Hello there. This is Jackie Rambles, and I don't know how to open a podcast episode. I mean, I know, well, from listening to a lot of podcasts, people usually have openings that they always use every episode. I don't have one. I hope I have one in the future after I do a few episodes. Anyways, um, So, this is a book review of a novel by Stephen King, and I don't know how people talk about book reviews. Why am I being so awkward? Anyways, well, I started reading this novel in late May, I'd say the 30th of May, and I kept reading it until today, which is the 20th of July. So that's about 2 months. I've spent 2 months with this book. I'm holding it right now, actually. And so what do I think of this book? I think it's amazing. I've read so many great books this year, um, like The Secret History by Donald Hart and The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. But I just finished reading this book, so right now I feel like it's the best book I've read this year. It's basically a science fiction novel, and there's time travel in it. My review will have spoilers in this, so I mean that's the only way I will give a review to this. I don't know how else. I don't know how to give a review without spoilers. Side note, if I sidetrack as I'm talking, like, please forgive me. I don't really have experience with this, so let me give you a general review of this, and then we'll go through my highlighted paragraphs because Stephen King is an author. Apparently, he knows how to write. So, what do I think of this book? Well, the time travel in it is very unique because, I mean, from pop culture today, we've had so many movies about time travel and movies and shows and like everything. And usually, I've never noticed the concept of the time and past itself, like fighting back and being like, don't change me, I don't want to be changed. There's a phrase in this book that Stephen always repeats, which is the past is obdurate, which means that the past is, obdurate means, when a person is like, God, I forgot the word. It just refuses to be changed. It wants to stay the same. And so you can see that throughout the book. Like the main character, Jake, he will see things happening that are not normal. And he can just tell that this is the past not wanting to be changed. Like he goes back in time. Oh my God, I didn't even give a premise for the book. He goes back in time, basically through a portal, to the year 1958. And he plans on stopping the JFK assassination of John F. Kennedy. And so he has 5 years until he does that. And through those years, he managed to do some things that he changed. I don't want to get into too much details because this is an 800 page long book. So I don't want to give you everything that Jake did in this book, but he changed some things, some major things. Like he saved this person that he knew and his sister, and he killed his father or something, and then he saved another kid from being paralyzed. So he did some things that changed the timeline for these people. And while he did these things, like his car would stop working while he was going there. Like the ignition would just stop, or like an accident would occur. And I think the biggest way that the past fought back was when he was nearing the John F. Kennedy assassination. Because by the time, I think about a few months before that happened, he was beaten to death, and he got amnesia. He just lost his memory, which is so convenient, you know. He lost all of his memory, and he forgot what he was doing. He forgot that he was tracking the assassination. He just forgot everything. So, and he was beaten to death, and he broke his he broke his knee. Like he was in a really bad shape, and that was all because the past didn't want to be changed. So I think that was really kind of scary when you read it in the book, and new. I don't know. That's one thing. The other thing is there's a love story in this book. Actually, I love romance in books. So when I bought this book, I specifically got it because from the articles I read, they said there was a love story in this. So I knew that. I pretended that I didn't, but I knew that. Anyways, he met Sadie, which is this librarian at the school he was working at, and they fell in love. And yeah, it's just simple as that. They fell in love. And she had this ex-husband of hers, and he kind of he was crazy. He had OCD, and yeah, he wasn't loving at all. He was just horrible, you know. And Jake was this complete opposite of her ex-husband, and it's just a really good love story, you know. But what made it a great love story for me is that both Sadie and Jake went through so many things in this book, but they still they were there for each other. Even though halfway through the book, Jake had to go back to his mission, which is to follow the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and he couldn't tell Sadie of it because he noticed that when he tells people about this, I don't think he tried to tell people, but he thought that if he tells her about it, that the machine of time or the past or whatever, they will go against her as well, and she will get hurt. So he was trying to protect her, and he couldn't tell her any of this, so he left her halfway through the book, and she was really, I don't know, I think she knew something was up, but I don't know, they broke up for a while there, a long time. But he kept thinking about her, and she kept thinking about, oh my god. I just love a good love story. And yeah, they got back together, which was so lovely to read. That was, I don't know, I just hate breakups in books. And they got back together, and he kind of saved her life because, you know, during the early 60s, something we don't really always remember is that people were scared to death. There was always this threat of missile strikes and a nuclear bomb going off, or a war like World War III beginning, and people were scared. And during the JFK presidency, apparently there was a lot of speeches given by JFK about possibility of a missile strike, or I think everyone knows that about the 60s. Anyway, so that really got to Sadie. She was really, really nervous about all of this, and he knew that. So that's kind of the reason they got back together. He was worried about her, and he found her almost, I don't know, she was shaken, and he was there for her, you know. And then, her ex-husband is a big part in the book is that her ex-husband came back one day and he mutilated her face. He cut her face with a knife. And Jake came too late. And there was a detail in the beginning of the book. It was kind of the past balancing itself out. He stopped something horrible from happening at the beginning. And so the past was well, if you stop this horrible thing, I'm going to do this other horrible thing. So I think that was the way Jake thought it happened, is that this is just the past is hurting Sadie because I stopped this thing. So he felt really guilty for that, which was horrible, you know. Anyways, I'm going off tracks. So Sadie's mutilated and she's in the hospital and she's like, I mean, her face is disfigured, and she's feeling really low. And there's this really cute paragraph that I'm gonna look for. Oh my god, I should have bookmarked the book. Oh my god, this is so bad. But anyways, in the hospital, she was like really devastated, and she was like kind of telling him to get away from her because I honestly don't imagine being in that position, but Jake was there. He was like, I don't care what you say, I don't care what you think. I'm here for you because you're in a really difficult situation and I love you, and like you can like punch me in the face to kill me to get away, but I'm not going away. I'm staying here. And Sadie was like this for a while, for weeks, I think. She was practically depressed and didn't want to see anyone. And Jake, he didn't take that stuff personally. He was like, I'm just gonna be here for her. Like he's so simple like that, And and then like I said, Jake was beaten up to death and he had amnesia, and she was there for him every step of the way. Like she was trying to talk to him every day. She was trying to you know, like ask him every day, like, do you remember this? Because he told her eventually that he was here to stop the assassination of JFK. And like, I don't know. I rarely read these kind of things in love stories. The kind of situations where life is really hard, and because like hard times really show the true colors of people, and I don't know, that really got to me. I love that about them. So, I read this story and I was like, this has a happy ending. Because the book has a show, right? And the show is really popular. Like, all of my family have watched it. Some of my coworkers have watched it. So I was like, this book has a happy ending and everything is going smoothly. So him and Sadie, they stop the assassination of JFK, right? But while they did it, they had so many obstacles. Like, Sadie found him because he didn't want her to be there. He kind of like escaped and he was like, Sadie, I'm gonna try to attempt stopping the assassination, but like if something happens, like if nothing happens, I'll be back. But if something happens, like I don't know. So she tracked him down, she found him, and then they went to stop the assassination, and while they did it, like again the car stopped working, and then the bus they came in got in an accident, and then someone tried to mug them. I don't know, but like a lot of things got in their way because the past didn't want what they did to happen. But as they reached the building where Oswald was trying to, that's the name of the person who, by the way, there's so much stuff about Lee Oswald, or Oswald Lee, I don't even know his name, in this book, who is, in reality, no one is really sure if he was the one that assassinated him. They think it was like a conspiracy theory. But in the book, it's like the fact, it's like Oswald, he killed John F. Kennedy. So, they reach the building and they kind of race upstairs. And by the way, like, you gotta remember, Jake was beaten up, his knee was like really bad. And anyways, so they go upstairs and they kind of race each other and like who goes first and, reaches Oswald. And as they reach the last few steps, Jake reaches him first, and he's trying to stop Oswald, and Oswald is like turns around with his rifle and he shoots at him. But the minute he shoots at him, Jake stumbles on this box and falls. And guess who he shoots? Guess who Oswald shoots? He shot Sadie, because Sadie, even though throughout the book she was really klutzy, like she was always stumbling on things, she was always dropping things. She's a huge klutz, which I relate to because I'm a huge klutz too. But in that moment, Jake was the klutz. He stumbled on these books and fell, and Sadie took the shot. She was shot in the chest and she fell, and as I was reading it, I was like, what? I don't know. I was just like, what is going on? What do you mean? What do you mean? And I was like, maybe she was shot in her leg or whatever. But no, she was shot right in the chest, like right in her heart. She was just dead. And as she was dying, Jake held her in her arms, and she was like, is the president okay? And he was like, yeah, he's okay. Anyways, so yeah, she died. Yeah, she died. And the thing is, Jake was like, no, she didn't die. Like, I'm gonna go back because there's a portal that he goes in, and when he comes back to the present time, it kind of resets itself. Like if he goes back to our time and then goes back in the past resets to the original one. So he was like, I'm gonna go back in here, and she's gonna be alive. And so he comes back to this present time, which was 2011, the year the novel was published. And he finds that the world was in shambles. Like, he finds out that even though JFK survived, because the main reason they stopped JFK from being assassinated was that they didn't want the war in Vietnam to happen, which was a huge mistake, because when JFK stopped that from happening, like, there was a city, I don't know, Saigon? I don't remember. But, like, they kind of allowed the thing in Vietnam to escalate. And so one of the presidents, let me see what was his name. I think it was Johnson. It wasn't Nixon, that's for sure. Anyways, one of the presidents was like, if you don't, like, set back your troops or whatever, I'm gonna send a nuclear bomb at your city. And they were like, okay, whatever. And he did. He sent a nuclear bomb and he bombed their city. So that's what happened when they stopped the JFK assassination. Just people bombing each other with nuclear weapons. And also, something really scary happened when he stopped the JFK assassination, was that there were earthquakes all of a sudden. Like, California had a huge earthquake and 7,000 people died. And even when he came back to the present day, there were earthquakes going on like every other hour. Like, things were shaking all the time. And the weather was like really bad. Like, I think climate change just like skyrocketed because of the nuclear bombs, I guess. And things were like, Japan was half drowned because of the earthquakes. China and Russia were like in a weak position. It was like dystopia, pretty much. And so Jake was like, I think what I did was not really good. So, so he got back to the past, and thing is, like, he knew that he couldn't get back to Sadie, like, he just couldn't do that. Because even if it's not a huge change, it's not as big as stopping the assassination of JFK, but it's still the past, and he's still in the past. Like, he's still gonna change things. Like, he was thinking that if I met Sadie and we got married and we had kids, our kids will probably change the fabric of time too. Like, who knows? So he was scared. He was like, do I choose the world or Sadie? Pretty much. And also, something else that happened is that there was a man who stood by that portal that he would travel in time through, and he was, I don't know, it's a long story, but like, he practically told him that you've changed the past so much that if you do any more changes, the very fabric of reality is gonna snap. And Jake was like, what do you mean, like Earth or the solar system or like the universe? Is like, no, reality itself will be destroyed. So here was Jake, okay? For weeks there, he was contemplating, like, do I go back to Sadie and like ruin reality? Or do I, like, travel back to the present day and save and reset everything? Because like I told you, when he goes back to the present day, he resets everything. So he was genuinely contemplating that. And I was like, wow, that is selfish. But at the same time, because I was so close to these characters, I was like, yeah, dude, just go back to Sadie. I mean, sure. I mean, screw everything. Screw the world. Even though I'm living in this world that he's talking about, like, just get back to Sadie. She's alive. um, so yeah, he didn't get back to Sadie. So that devastated me, actually. That made me really sad. He came back to this present day. And, yeah. Sadie kind of died. And she didn't even die in his timeline. She died in another timeline. Which is even more devastating if you think about it. So, yeah. I don't know. That was really sad. But at the end of the book, he Googled her name. Like, he researched for her after a while. He really stopped. I don't know. He was like, I don't need to know. Like, Sadie's dead. I didn't need to know what happened. But eventually he Googled her, kind of, and found out that she was still alive. And she was like a really big deal at her town, and she helped people and all that. Anyways, he found her, and yeah, he met her when she was 80, and there was like they were throwing an event party, whatever, at her honor or whatever, and there was music there, and they danced. Yeah, right there, they danced, and she was like, "Do I know you?" And he was like, "Yeah, you know me in another life." And the book ended. And the last line of the book is, because they really liked dancing back in the day. He was like, "Then the music takes us, the music rolls away the years, and we dance." And the book ended. So, I was really sad when that happened, because like I told you, I read this book thinking there was a happy ending to it. But this is not a happy ending, like in any way, shape, or form, because first of all, he didn't stop the JFK assassination, and second of all, Sadie died. Like, what is this? Like, if this book didn't happen, is like, that would be so much better, you know? And I was like shocked for a few minutes there, and I just wanted to cry. I couldn't cry because I don't know. I don't know. It's a weekend. You're not supposed to cry at the weekend. So I just I turned on some sad music. I listened to this song called "The Way We Were." No, "The World We Knew." Yeah, "The World We Knew" by Frank Sinatra, which is, kind of like, I mean, the devastating thing about this is that she died. It's losing a loved one to death, and that is just about the saddest thing. So I cried a little, because this is not a happy ending at all. Oh my god. There's a show for this, and James Franco plays Jake. I don't really like James Franco much. I think his acting is not that good. I have nothing against him. I just think, I don't know. He's kind of like a cold actor. Like, I don't know. His emotions are not really there in his face. I don't know. But the way I imagine Jake, well, let's just say he wasn't James Franco. Will I watch the show? Probably not. I don't know. I watched the first episode, and I don't know. The book is always better. And in this case, it's so much better. They just skipped so many things. And by so many things, I mean, like, in the first episode, they were at page, like, what? They were, like, at page 250 in the first episode. So, yeah. I don't recommend watching the show. I really recommend watching the book first. And then watching a show, if you can. And, yeah. How much do I give this? 5 stars out of 5. It was epic. It was lovely. It has everything. I read some reviews on this book, and like, the best thing about this is it has more than one genre. It's romance, it's science fiction, it's time travel, it's murder, it's everything. Like, everything I love in this book. I love when books do that, There's this book called The Silent Patient, which was a book that got really popular a few years ago. It also did that. Like, it had art, it had psychology, and it had murder. Like, it just mixed all of these genres together. And I think that's what makes a really great book. Like, you don't want to stick to one genre. Especially if you've been reading books for a while. It gets boring after a while, you know? You want to mix things up. So, this is a great book. I've never read a Stephen King book before. I've watched many of his works on screen, but this is my first one. And, I don't know. He's epic. He's awesome. He has, like, I think he has over 100 novels or something. I don't know. He has a lot of novels, you could say. I'm gonna read more of his books. I was thinking about reading some of my highlighted parts, but, like, I don't know. These, like, if I read you the line, you wouldn't understand it. Like, it needs context. It's not that kind of book where you just pull out a paragraph and you can, like, tweet it or something. It's, I don't know. There was mentions in this book that I liked about, like, pop culture. You know, like Edward Hopper, who's one of my favorite painters, or, like, it mentioned the book Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, which is a book I don't know, I think I spelled her name wrong. Ayn Rand? I don't know. I've been wanting to read this book for the longest time, and now I want to read it even more, but I don't know where to get a paperback. Yeah, just stuff like that. It makes the book feel more real when Stephen mentions these things that you know in real life. And also, in the book, when he goes back in time, he has his cell phone with him, which he forgot about, and he's like, oh my god, what am I doing with this? He threw it in the river. I don't know, that was funny. But there's just so many cute lines between him and Sadie. Like, they were the perfect couple. And she died. Oh my god. So yeah, I don't know if this counts as a review, but I really enjoyed this book, and I've been really enjoying books that are, like, over 500 pages long, even though I steered clear from these kinds of books my whole life, because, like, I don't want to waste time, but, like, no. The longer the book is, the more fulfilling you feel when you end it. I've had this experience with The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt before, and The Secret History also by her, and now with this one. And, like, I want to keep reading more huge novels, because, I don't know, I like details. I like them. And as for Stephen King, he's really good at describing things. Like, you know, like the way a sign looks at a street or something. Sometimes it's tedious to read, but I enjoyed it because he needs to describe to you the general atmosphere of the 60s, you know, so you would get into the novel with the characters, I think. There was also an epic scene, I think, in the book when he saved JFK, and the FBI took him in a hotel, and they were like, the president wants to talk to you. And JFK himself called him. He's like, I am really grateful for you. You saved my life and all that. And then Jackie Kennedy also called him. He was like, what? Is this a dream? But it wasn't a dream. Oh my god. Yeah. If you find yourself in a position where you can time travel, I really recommend you don't. Because, fun fact, actually, you cannot travel back in time to the past. I think I read this theory once when I was a huge space nerd back in high school. Because, well, here's the thing. There's a speed of light that we all know of, and we cannot physically reach the speed of light because the light is made of photons, and we're not made of photons. So if we want to reach the speed of light, we have to be made of light, pretty much, which we're not. But let's assume we are, you know, like angels or something. So in order to travel back in time, we have to reach the speed of light and then go beyond the speed of light. And by the way, the speed of light is like the fastest speed in the universe or something. Fact check me on that. So you not only have to reach the speed of light, but you have to go beyond the speed of light. so that the time will slow down and then starts to go back. And this is actually proven. There was an experiment. They put this really intricate clock on a rocket once, and they sent it like jetting off into space at a really high speed, like 600,000 miles an hour or something. And the time, it was like nanoseconds or whatever, like the time slowed down in that clock. So this is actually proven. I think it's a theory by Einstein, but it's proven scientifically, which is crazy. Like that's, oh my god, that's why I love science. Like it's just like science fiction, as much as it's fiction, it has some roots in science and reality too. So yeah, we cannot really travel back in space because we're not made of light. But if you find yourself in a position where you can travel back in time, don't. Like just don't. That's not how life is. There's a, even though Einstein says time is an illusion, but it's linear. We think of it as linear. It goes in a straight line. You don't want to like jump and go back in that line. Yeah, I'm just giving you a really important advice right now. So yeah, what am I gonna read next? I don't know. Probably a short novel. I've read 2 huge novels in the past few months, and I am a little bit done with them at the moment. But yeah, who knows? So, anyways, this was wow. This was 30 minutes long. Anyways, I don't know. Does this count as a review of the book? Who knows? But I enjoyed it, and I'm probably gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna give reviews on books, on movies, on shows, on pieces of art. I don't know. Who knows? I'm just gonna ramble. And yeah, goodbye.